This week, as we do every year on the Shabbat before Purim, we read together with the Parashat Hashavua, the weekly reading, Parashat Zachor, the parasha that tells us of the ambush of the nation of Amalek against the nation of Israel as they were leaving Egypt in the desert. We are told by the Torah, Zachor, al tishkach, remember, do not forget what it is that Amalek did to you. Memory is central to our lives. It is the seat of identity. If it were not for our memory, we would have no sense of self. And so it's important to recognize that when the Torah says to us, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, remember what it is that Amalek did to you, we have to think about, well, who is you? Who am I? Reading this, recognizing this, understanding that I have to remember something. Memory is the centerpiece of our identity. If it were not for the fact that we had the ability to be able to string together in a whole consciousness all of the people that we've met, all of the experiences of our lives, the feelings, the learnings. Not only that, but memory runs not only in our minds, but in our cells, in our very DNA. If you think about it, DNA itself is a mechanism of memory. It selects and holds genes that become the very data from which you and I are created. We are a result of eons of memory. The Torah holds memory as sacred, as one of the most important things for us in our lives to be aware of and to recognize. Zachor, it says, what it is that Amalek did to you. Remember what they did to you, your ancestors. Even though you weren't walking at that desert, even though you were not the ones who suffered the ambush, you are the descendants, and a direct line can be drawn between you and that event. And that is part of the hallmark of the nation of Israel. We are a nation that lives in memory. We are a nation that lives, therefore, in identity. We do not attempt to recreate ourselves with every generation. We do not attempt to edit and change what it is that we are, who it is that we are. We do recognize that we develop as we get older as a nation, that we learn new things and therefore adapt and evolve. But we are not spontaneously new entities. We have a long history. We are old on this earth. And being so, we have long and deep memories. And that means that we have long and deep identity. It isn't easy to uproot 3,000 years of identity. And this week, before Purim, we focus on the fact that our identity, our place on this earth, our established sense of who it is that we are, was attacked by a nation called Amalek, a nation that sees meaning as futile, that recognizes a world that is haphazard and random. As it says in the Pasuk, they came upon us, asher karecha baderech. They just happened upon us. It wasn't something that was planned. It wasn't something that came from deep meaning. It was simply a sense that these people need to be put in their place so that they don't think too much of themselves, so that they don't think too much of the world. They don't think too much of anything. But we didn't allow that to stop us. We do think much of the world. We do think much of almost everything. We are a people that thinks. We are a people that questions. We are a people that always consider the deep meaning of life, ourselves, and the world around us. That essentially is the way that we combat Amalek. It is the way that we keep our lives strong and thriving. It is at the heart of what it means to be Israel. We remember who it is that we are by cultivating memory, by recognizing that what came before me, and yes, what comes after me, is my business. It is central to who it is that I am. We do not live in a way in which we say, be here now only, don't worry about what happened before, don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow. That is not a Jewish way to live. The Jewish way to live is to see one's life right now, to be present right now, to be conscious right now against the backdrop of history, past and future. It is in that we have the most vivid, the most robust identity. That is our legacy. And that is how, ultimately, we destroy Amalek. And so we read this week, Zachor. Remember, et asher asa lecha, what Amalek did to you. Not to them, to you. Shabbat Shalom.